be sure to go to flipsidegaming.com and use promo code 6 for 10% off on orders over $10. You can do the same at the Grizzly Gentleman for 10% off at checkout. Both are fantastic deals and they help support the show. What is up? Planeswalkers Theoric 6 back with some more decks, I guess. I think, other than this one, all of these decks are going to be M21 decks, but on stream, I decided to make a discard deck. By I decided, I mean I asked viewers what they wanted to see, and a lot of them said discard. So we're going to start off with this deck. We have 5 decks to look at today. I'm pretty sure this is the only one where we have to wait till Jumpstart. Jumpstart, if I recall correctly, comes out July 17th, but that might be different on Arena. I frankly have no idea what's happening. This whole M21 Jumpstart stuff is just very confusing. I don't know when Jumpstart's coming out on Arena at all. I've looked. It is not clear. Jumpstart Arena. No idea. Yeah, literally I have no idea. On the MTG wiki, it says it was intended to be released June 26th, but this was pushed back to July 17th. Jumpstart will be released on Arena to July 16th. Okay, sure. Whatever. So this deck, it'll take a little while because we have 2 cards in here. Or I think it's just 2. No, Black Cat was also in there. So this deck essentially is meant to be a discard deck that doesn't rely solely on a bunch of like one-off discard spells. And that's one of the things that I found was an issue for these super discard heavy decks. I feel like I'm too small. There we go. Who needs this information over here? So yeah, oftentimes when you're playing the discard decks, you're going to find that you run out of actual threats very quickly, because you get to a point where you and your opponent are top decking, and now when you play single type discard, you're not getting the same value. So this deck is meant to kind of mitigate that somewhat by playing a lot more of an integrated game plan, right? You have a lot of cards that do care about having your opponent discard, but they also have cards that care just about your opponent not having very many cards in their hand at all. So first we start off with 4 Waste Knots. We definitely love Waste Knots here, because they allow us to get some extra value in those initial phases of the game. Now, one thing you might notice is that I'm not running any 1-mana discard spells. Duress would be in the sideboard, Disfigure would also be in the sideboard. As of right now, there isn't anything that I feel strongly about for this deck to have as a 1-drop that I can push something else out for. So right now we essentially do exactly nothing on turn 1, and typically you're going to want to have your 2-drop be Waste Knot. Now obviously you might be saying, against aggro that's pretty bad, but we do have an okay number of other 2-drops to follow it up. So we have Burglar Rat, which they enter their opponent, each opponent discards a card. But with this is a 2-of. Why is this a 2-of? Because we're getting Black Cat, which is just better than Burglar Rat, in that they discard a card at random. For what it's worth, Black Cat does say target, whereas Burglar Rat says each. So theoretically, if your opponent had hexproof or a way to give themselves hexproof, then yes, Black Cat would not function very well. But being able to force your opponent to discard at random is a lot better than having your opponent get to choose. Because when they get to choose, they're going to pick the best thing for them. When you force them to discard it at random, especially when this is on turn 2, you might hit their integral land. You might hit their curve play. You know, they let's say they went first, they play a 2-drop, you play a 2-drop. Now you've gotten rid of the 3-drop. That allows you to go into your 3-drop space without having as many issues. So I really like Black Cat here. You'll notice I'm not running Yark's Fenlurker. We have things that work with discards specifically, so even though Yark's Fenlurker is very nice in that it completely gets rid of the card via exile, I decided to go with Black Cat because it works a little bit better with the deck. Nixithid. This is kind of the card I was talking about for that integrated style. Nixithid is a 3-mana 7/7 spicy meatball, but you have to choose an opponent when it enters, and Nixithid gets -1/-1 for each card in the chosen player's hand. The goal of this deck is to make it so your opponent is on top deck mode constantly. And once they're in that position, right, against the discard deck, typically, they're going to either choose to hold on to cards because they don't want to get hit with Davriel, or they're going to just play out their cards, because they know if you're holding cards, they're probably discard spells, they're going to lose their cards anyway, right? But now with Nixithid, they're going to want to hold their extra lands and whatnot in their hand, so that Nixithid is smaller. Which means that later on in the game, your other discard effects that you're top decking aren't necessarily going to be dead cards, because once again, your opponent has something in their hand that you can utilize. Against aggro, a deck where they're likely going to be just losing cards out of their hand anyway because they're casting their spells and you're discarding some, Nixithid becomes a fantastic blocker. If they're playing red-based aggro, a 7/7 stat line is monstrous. Now, of course, this is, you can consider this to be something like a 5 toughness or even sometimes a 4 toughness, right? Like, sure. That's still very good. And what's hilarious is that if your opponent has 3 cards in hand, right? One of those is Lava Coil, right? So right now our Nixithid's a 4/4. They cast the Lava Coil. That card's not in their hand anymore. Pretty sure, don't quote me on this, pretty sure your Nixithid survives in that situation. Obviously they could, burn it again, but it does do some funky stuff. Nixithid, fantastic card in a deck like this. Then of course we have 3 Davriels. I'm only running 3 because I wanted 4 Hypnotic Specters, because Hypnotic Spectre is cool and it doesn't see enough play. Technically speaking, it's probably better just to run 4 Davriel because you always want to see them, and it's a little bit harder to kill Davriel than it is Hypnotic Spectre. But Davriel is the rack. You're going to be able to have this as your other win condition, where you just slowly hit your opponent over and over and over again. And of course you have essentially 2 free get your opponent to discard. Hypnotic Spectre, very similar reason to Black Cat being good. This forces them to discard at random, and hitting something at random can be utterly backbreaking. It does mean you have a bit more of the RNG in the playing a role in the game, but it's still pretty nice. Obviously, it's only like a 2/2, which isn't the best, but like it fits in the deck really nicely. Drill Bit isn't here as a 2-of. It's nice because this is a card that can hit anything, and it can relatively frequently be a 1-drop. By the way, no, I'm not missing a card. I'll come back to it in a bit. I'm saving it for last. Or pseudo-last. I'll talk about it before the lands. But Drill Bit is like a pseudo 1-drop because you should be able to get this with Spectacle, just because you do have a bunch of who cares 1/1s. And even if you don't, just being able to choose the card you get out of the grave get out of their hand is nice, and it's discard. Theoretically speaking, you could cut 2 of these for Agonizing Remorse, but once again, Agonizing Remorse exiles, so there's little of the lane here and there. 3 Murderous Rider, we do want removal. We want to be able to deal with rather large, annoying creatures, or just planeswalkers in general. So Murderous Rider helps us do that, and we can also just play it in a pinch to have a life gain creature. Liliana, Waker of the Dead, is pretty cool. She forces everyone to discard a card. Your opponents are going to lose life from it, because at some point, they're not going to have any more cards. You shouldn't care about plussing and discarding cards, because either you have extra copies of things that you aren't going to need, or you're in top deck mode and you're playing your cards before you plus Liliana. It's fantastic. She comes with great removal, where you're going to be able to just get rid of nonsense, and if you're casting spells a lot to force your opponent to discard cards, you should have an okay sizable graveyard. The -7 is interesting, but it's not really, it doesn't really factor in. She really is more of a different version of Davriel's the Rack part. 2 Extinction Events. This could be legit anything. Languish, Ritual of Soot. What's the other 4-drop? I don't know. There's another 4-drop one. Languish, Ritual of Soot, Extinction Event. Maybe I'm insane if there isn't. I don't know what's happening. And then 2 Eldritch Reborns. It does have a discard, but it also is a type of removal, and it allows you to buy something back if you want. Now, here's the other card. Tiny Bones. First of all, I said it for last because it's just so cute. But also, this is another issue that the discard decks have, is that you go into top deck mode at the same time your opponent does, right? And typically, that's going to benefit the person whose general card strength, whose average card strength is highest. And this deck, we're running like Waste Nuts and Burglar Rats and Black Cats and things. So generally speaking, our average card power is not very high, especially if you're going against a control deck. What Tiny Bones does is Tiny Bones allows you to continue to get some of that, to get some value, and especially against control, where the life gain doesn't, or the life loss doesn't matter, you're going to be able to keep this hand pressure on your opponent, get to a point where you can play your Davriols, your Lilianas, and then drain them very fast so that they don't get a chance to outcompete you in terms of raw card power. The 6-mana activated ability it's nice and all. Is it going to happen all the time? Probably not, but for what it's worth, it is something you can do at instant speed, and just being able to be like, I'm waiting. Oh, you've put your shields down completely? You die. It's pretty cool. This is our mana base. It's a ton of swamps. We got a couple Castle Lockthwains once again to draw some cards, and a couple Cabal Strongholds because we're running a lot of swamps. That's about it. Were there any cards? Yeah, so these were some cards that I considered but didn't end up including. Elspeth Nightmare is one of the ones that I think honestly could possibly be put in instead of Drill Bit, because Elspeth's Nightmare does work against aggro as well. So, you know, against the aggro decks, you're going to get this nice hit to their board. Against any deck, really, you get that nice -2, and the -3 is generally gravy. The main reason I didn't go for Nightmare over Drill Bit is because you don't get to choose, but with the amount of random discard, it might not matter all that much. I'm running 25 lands, and you might think that's a bit strange considering the average CMC is 2.91, but I think the fact that I want to consistently be hitting lands to get up to this part, I think that means that's what I want. You'll notice I realized that I'm not doing the same thing that I did last time. It's because I want to talk about more decks. So. Bad Touch is funny. Bad Touch is just standard Death Touch tribal. I tried to put as many cool cards in here as possible. You'll let me know if I didn't. I've seen a lot of people run. Well, I'm just gonna go through it. So this one is just green-black. I thought I might need Jund overall. This isn't really indicative of anything. This is just a green-black deck. Technically, you can run a couple of like green-red lands, I suppose, if you want to be able to use Thrash. But really, Threat. But this is really just a Thrash deck. So we have 3 Falmare Knights, and I have some things down here that I want to talk about. I don't know why these are 3-ofs. These are meant to be 1-ofs. I have 3 Falmare Knights, and the reason for this is Falmare Knight is one of the better early game Death Touch creatures, because in the early game you can play it as a Death Touch creature. Cool, you're on the board, right? You know, Falmare Knight into being able to ram through something early that's stupid is really cool. But you also, it's not terrible late game, right? You get to use it to draw a card, which is going to be very helpful. When you're looking at something like Knight of the Ebon Legion, it's great, it's fantastic, but it doesn't innately have Death Touch. Obviously, it gets Death Touch for a relatively innocuous cost. It just is a little slower. Like, this deck feels like something where you want to cast something every single turn. Like, instead of on turn 3 holding up mana to use Knight of the Ebon Legion, you want to be playing one of these 3 drops, right? So that's why I didn't include that. Vampire of the Dire Moon, it's nice that she has lifelink, but she just doesn't have the same utility that Falmare Knight does. 3 Shevel, Bane of Monsters. Shevel's cool because he's a 1/3 with Death Touch, which means it survives shocks. You're going to be able to block 2 X's 2 X's, I guess, for a while. And of course, then you can put bounty counters on your opponent's cards, and when those permanent dies, you get to not only draw a card, but you get to gain 3, which is relatively nice. I don't suspect that this deck would have too much issues with life gain. I did initially have Leyline Prowler and Mire Triton in the decks as well, kind of for the life gain reason, but unless we're going against like heavy burn, we should have a lot of blockers that are going to be able to hit pretty much everything, so Shevel should be okay. Orzhov Enforcer, it's a Death Touch creature that can block twice. Orzhov Enforcer is one of the cards that I'm very much not sure of. I feel like Orzhov Enforcer could be something the hell else. I just don't know exactly what that would be. So, like, for example, Mire Triton isn't necessary in a deck like this, even though, you know, arguably speaking, it has advantages over Orzhov Enforcer. But the reason I didn't go with Mire Triton, one, because I don't think I need the life gain, but also because the deck currently can't really benefit from the graveyard. So that's why I went with Orzhov Enforcer. And like, we do have a lot of 2-drops here. I think that's like fine, because it's actually, we don't actually have a lot of 2-drops, right? Like, we have 6. The rest of these are these. So we have four Ram Through. Ram Through, instant speed, target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature you don't control. If it has trample, you get to do stuff, but I don't think any of these can innately have trample. They can get trample via Vivian, but they don't innately have trample. But what's really nice is that you just have an instant speed way to kill creatures as long as you have a single Deathtouch creature on the board. So I very much like that. 4 Thrash does essentially the same thing, except the reason I went with more Ram Throughs is because Thrash is a little bit harder to cast. We're going to want to be playing Questing Beast and Vivian anyway. We do have Grim Dancers, but playing those on curve isn't too necessary, considering we do have all of these. So I'm hoping that this is probably fine. Anyway, wait, they're 4 and 4. What the fuck am I talking about? I don't know. But we have 4 of these. Anyway, the target creature deals damage not only to a creature, but it could also be a planeswalker. So when you have, you know, things like Hooded Blightfang or no, you don't kill things. Only your creatures do. So if you have Hooded Blightfang out, or you use this on the token from Vraska, then you get to just outright kill planeswalkers, which is going to be very helpful. What was it? Domri's Ambush. I've seen some people use full Jund in order to have Domri's Ambush, but I think they've just like forgotten Thrash Threat. Like it's like the same thing. Like this gets a +1/+1 counter on it, but this is a sorcery speed card. This is an instant speed card. Like, it's also easier to cast. So I just went with this. Once again, theoretically, you can run a couple of red-green lands in order to cast the threat portion of this, but I didn't think it was too necessary. 3 Grim Dancers. They enter the battlefield with Menace, Deathtouch, or Lifelink. Once again, this is a card that I'm not entirely sold on. You can give it Lifelink, which is nice, but it's mainly here for the Menace and Deathtouch. This alongside Pestilent Spirit, having Menace and Deathtouch. Essentially, it's like, I'm already going to be playing creatures that you don't want to block, but now in order to block and kill them, you're going to have to get rid of 2 creatures, not just 1. So that's kind of my idea with this, is like, it's just making it really annoying for your creatures, not only to survive because of all my ram throughs and things, but also in order to block profitably. Hooded Blightfang. It's a 4-drop, or it's a 4 of. This is like the deck. It has Deathtouch, obviously. It's a 1/4, fantastic. Whenever a creature you control with Deathtouch attacks, each opponent loses 1 and you gain 1. So now, not only are we attacking with creatures you don't want to block anyway, we're going to drain you regardless. Once again, reasons I don't think I need extra life gain. And then, of course, whenever a creature you control with Deathtouch deals damage to a planeswalker, destroy that planeswalker. This is fantastic. Obviously, if we have this out, then our Vivian -3 just gets to kill planeswalkers as well, as I already talked about this interaction. But yeah, this is just a fantastic way of making sure we just get rid of nonsense. It's great. And that's why I have 4 of it. 3 Pestilent Spirit. We don't run any instant sorceries that matter to have Deathtouch. Theoretically, you could actually go full Jund and incorporate things like that, but then it's, in my opinion, making the deck too cute. If Hooded Blightfang said sources you control with Deathtouch, then, like, holy crap, that would be much more amazing. Like, you combo these all day long. But since it doesn't, it only cares about creatures. Really, I have Pestilent Spirit in here for the Menace and Deathtouch. I guess technically speaking, you could argue that Grim Dancer should be a 4 and this should be a 2. But the reason I did keep the 3/3 split is because this is double black, this is not, and this deck wants to be casting these. Therefore, and this, therefore, green's more important. 3 Questing Beast. It's Questing Beast and it has Deathtouch. It fits the theme and it's really strong. Don't at me. I'm not the one who gave it Deathtouch, alright? 4 Vraska's Swarm Eminence. One of the cool reasons to play this, whenever creature control with Deathtouch deals combat damage to a player or planeswalker, excuse me, it doesn't have to deal combat damage. It deals damage to a player or planeswalker, put a 1/1 counter on that creature. So, if we have something like Vivian, or Thrash, or a creature, give one of our creatures trample somehow, and have this, they get a +1/+1 counter on it, which is really sweet. She also can make some assassins that whenever they deal damage to a planeswalker, destroy that planeswalker. Once again, it's not combat damage. right? So that's pretty cool. She's dope. 2 Vivians. Vivians allow us to make our creatures a little bit bigger and give them trample until end of turn, which, as I've already said, works really nicely with Ram Through. We can -3 to just have them shoot people with their poison gas. And then the -5, you can maybe put some stuff in the sideboard to work with it. I mean, I guess you might as well. Like, this is a best of 1 deck for sure. But if you're like really looking for it, then I would suggest putting some random, like, I really need this in this matchup. So like Destiny Spinner or something if you're going against heavy counter spells. Ou quelque chose comme ça. This is the mana base. I don't know how to make mana bases. It's black-green. It's black-green standard. Get off my back. This one I'm very proud of. And by very proud of, I mean, I saw a combo, and I was like, okay, how would I build that combo? This is how I would build that combo. So I'm going to explain the combo first. This is a Naya mid-range combo deck. So I guess I'm not technically explaining the combo yet. Combo. Words are hard. I've been streaming. I've been talking for several hours today. Okay, give me some break. Give me a break. I can't speak. The point of this deck is not to get to the combo as fast as possible. The point of this deck is to have a decent Naya mid-range deck that happens to have combo pieces that can infinite kill your opponent. So what is the combo? The combo is between Terror of the Peaks and Spore Web Weaver. Spore Web Weaver, when it is dealt damage, you gain life and you make a 1/1. Okay. When Terror of the Peaks, whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, it deals 1 damage equal to that creature's power to any target. So, let's say you have Spore Web Weaver out, and then, or I guess let's say you have Terror of the Peaks out. You cast Spore Web Weaver, right? Spore Web Weaver has 1 power. Terror of the Peaks hits Spore Web Weaver for 1. Okay, cool. We gain a life. We make a 1/1. This 1/1 enters the battlefield. Notice Terror of the Peak does not say non-token. It's just any creature you control. Another creature you control. So that 1/1 has Terror of the Peaks, deal 1 damage to Spore Web Weaver. Gain life, make a thing. But Theorix, you're saying, that only works 4 times. You're correct. That does only work 4 times if you don't have a way to give your Spore Web Weaver indestructibility. However, we're getting a few ways to get indestructibility. This is being reprinted in M21, right? Right? I just have to like triple check. I'm pretty sure it was. I just very quickly got concerned because... Okay, cool. I just didn't want to lie to you and tell you that only one of the decks had Jumpstart cards. So we are getting some cool indestructible things. So we have 4, and I'm just going to talk about the deck. 4 Selfless Saviors. We have good boy, apparently. 1 mana, 1/1. You sack it. I'm sorry, but you sack it. Another target creature you control gains indestructible until end of turn. So we have the Spore Web Weaver. We have Terror of the Peaks. Let's say, we have both of those on the field. Turn 3 Spore Web Weaver. Turn 5 Terror of the Peaks. Turn 6, I guess technically on turn 6 we could play Terror of the Peaks in this, but shut up. We play Selfless Savior. Trigger. We target the Spore Web Weaver. In response, we sacrifice Selfless Savior. Target the Spore Web Weaver. As long as this shit resolves, we now have an indestructible spider that's going to give us infinite life. I assume this is... Yeah, okay. It's going to give us infinite life, and we're going to make infinite spiders. Eventually, we have to target something else, or else we're going to run out of time on Arena. I'm hoping that this doesn't make the client like Garbo, but sure. We also have Fight as 1. Choose one or both. Target human creature you control gains +1/+1 indestructible. Target non-human. Human does the same. So this is another 1 mana way of giving our thing indestructible. But what's nice is that we have Destiny Spinner. Destiny Spinner is something that we're also going to want, and I'll talk a little bit about Destiny Spinner a bit more in a second. But we do have a way to get benefit out of both of these. For what it's worth, Fight as 1 is one of the weaker cards in this deck, I think. Fight as 1 could definitely be something else that just adds to our general ethos of being an okay mid-range deck. You'll notice the main issue with this deck right now is its lack of removal. So you know, fight is one. Do I have anything in here? No. I'll talk about those in a bit. Fight is one could be removal, for example. Pelt Collector. This is one of those cards where you just have it because it's an okay card in this style of deck in general. I don't know if it's actually good in this deck because Swirl Web Weaver doesn't proc it. Destiny Spinner does. Bronze-Hide Lion does. But then we have like Shifting Ceratops and Terror of the Peaks, so we don't have a ton. So it's possible this isn't the correct card to be playing. That said, I do believe we need a 1-drop card that is relatively powerful. So we want some sort of decent mid-range to aggressive creature in the 1-drop slot. I don't know exactly what it should be. If you have an idea, go ahead and put it in the comments below. But I went with Pelt Collector because I was like, green creatures, mid-range Pelt Collector. And for what it's worth, this is for standard. 2 Bronze-Hide Lions. This is a creature that can just, 1, gain indestructible, but 2, when it dies, you can just give its coat to a creature that you control. So theoretically, you have Bronze-Hide Lion and Spore Web Weaver. This dies. Put on Spore Web Weaver. Now, you can activate the ability and give it indestructible, and then you can start doing dumb things with this. Heroic Intervention. Permanents you control gain Hexproof and indestructible. What's not to love? If your opponent wants to, you know, bounce or exile your stuff, literally any of your stuff, you have hexproof on your permanents, your lands, your creatures, your planeswalkers, your enchantments, all of it. Bada bing, bada boom. No, go away. I don't want you to touch my things. Heroic Intervention. It's only 2 of, because of the fact that I do think that you, like, I think the 1-drop indestructibility is more important, but it's possible that this could be a 3 of. Just don't have any of these or something. I don't know. We have 4 Destiny Spinners. 2-mana, 2/3, creature and enchantment spells you control can't be countered. Essentially, the idea behind this is we want to make sure that, like, if our opponents are counter-based control, they can't really do too much harm to us, because we have destroy-based control. Now, obviously, exile-based control is going to be a bit of an issue. Theoretically, you could run Alcid of Life's Bounty, but that doesn't actually help against Terror of the Peaks. It doesn't help you combo with Terror of the Peaks, although it does help against Exile, but I figured since it doesn't help you do the combo, it's not as important. But Destiny Spinner essentially says, you're not going to get to counter my things, F off. And we have other ways of doing that. I'm going to skip these real quick. Like Domri, Anarch, or Bolas. So, you know, +1, your creature spells can't be countered this turn. Very helpful for doing that. And then, of course, you can force things to fight, you know, if you just want to get some, like, if you want to kill your Bronze-Hide Lion on purpose, you can do that. If you want to trigger Spore Web Weaver to start things going, you can do that, etc., etc. But what's nice is that this gives your creatures +1/+0, and Spore Web Weaver gives you a bunch of 1/1s. If you want the game to go a little faster, you can make fewer creatures because of this. Spore Web Weaver, I talked about, but what's really cool is that this is hexproof from blue. I wish it said it can't be countered innately, but whatever. Essentially, it just means this can't, like, be bounced or something with anything that has blue in it. It can't be targeted by Brazen Borrower, for example. So that's very nice. Rhythm of the Wild is another card that allows it so our creatures can't be destroyed. But one of the things I like about it is giving our non-creature spells Riot. So the reason I like that is because I can make it so my Spore Web Weaver is a 2/5, and make it so it actually can do something in combat. Because as it is, it's a 1/4, so it doesn't actually do all that much. But yes, the Rhythm of the Wild, it's okay. 2 Shifting Ceratops. Can't be countered. Pro blue, fuck you. That's it. 4 Samut Tyrant Smasher. This is a 4-mana Planeswalker that just gives your creatures haste. So Spore Web Weaver, I'm just going to say Weaver from now on because I can't speak words. Weaver gives you a bunch of doots. Samut says, you get to kill your opponent with these doots. Then, of course... Oh, I was very confused. Yeah. Then, of course, you can use her ability to not only make some of your creatures bigger and buffer, but also scry 1. It gives them haste, but the reason it gives them haste is because if Samut dies, then the creature still gets to attack that turn. And of course, Terror of the Peaks. It's a 5-mana flying 5/4. Spells your opponent's cast that target Terror of the Peaks cost an additional 3 life to cast. That means your opponent's going to be really loath to remove them. And then, of course, we have that extra text. The cards in this deck that I think are the weakest are Fight as One and Rhythm of the Wild. It's possible that we have enough Can't Be Countered among Destiny Spinner and Domri that we want to replace, and then enough protection, that we want to replace these two things with removal. Whatever type of removal you think is best for a Naya deck like this, that is a possibility. And then, of course, it's possible that Pelt Collector just doesn't fit here, really, and there should be a better one-drop. And I want to stress that I do think it should be a one-drop, because I think we do want to apply some sort of pressure earlier on in the game. It could be a two-drop, but it feels like it should be a one-drop. But I guess maybe like 2 2s and 2 1s, maybe. Sure. This is the mana base. I don't know how to make mana bases. Shut up. This could be better. Obviously, I don't know how to do it. Gideon Blackblade is a way to give your creatures indestructible for a turn, but it has double white, and the white is very much tertiary. Perforos gives your creatures haste. It costs 5. And then Assure, Assemble, gives your creature indestructible, but it costs 2. This costs 1. This costs 1. This costs 2, but it's easier to cast. So that's the deck. Once again, for any of these decks, if you have any suggestions for them, please let me know. This deck was fucking hard because there are too many cards I wanted to play. This is historic, life gain, angels. But there were too many cards that I wanted to try and squeeze in here that I think the deck is worse for it. So I hope you'll forgive me. The point of this deck is essentially to use Speaker of the Heavens to just make an angel every fucking turn. That's it. I just want to be able to make angels all the time. Constantly. Angel, angel, angel. The way you do that is by gaining a bunch of life. Well, okay, if we're making a bunch of angels, and I want to gain a bunch of life, let's put some angel cards in there. But wait, there's just, like, good cards that are lifelink, that matter. It was hard. I had to narrow it down to this. I'm only running 22 lands. This is the mana base. I think it's the correct mana base. Shut up. I don't know. This deck stressed me out. It took me more time to build this than any of the other decks so far. This is bullcrap. 3 Sarah Ascendants. Only 3, because I had to find room. It's a good card. It has lifelink. You can get your cool turn 1 this into turn 2 a Johnny's Pride Mate. Get some cool stuff going. Yada, yada, yada. And then it gets big. Cool. When it gets big, you gain even more life. It's nonsense. Cool. Fantastic. Whatever. 4 Soul Warden. Soul Warden is the best because she gains you life all the time. Your opponents play creatures, you gain life. You play creatures, you gain life. You gain life, you gain life. It's good. 3 Speaker of Heavens. I wanted to play 4. I really did. I couldn't squeeze the deck in. As Vigilance and Lifelink, which means you can attack with it to gain life, and then you can tap with it to make an angel. You can only do it on your turn, which is a little frustrating, but whatever. Only 2 Bishop of Wings. Why? Because I wanted to play Daxos as well. Fuck. When an angel enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 4. When an angel you control dies, make a 1/1 thing. Cool whoop-de-doo. It has a cool combo with Angel of Vitality and Resplendent Angel, such that when Resplendent Angel enters the battlefield, you gain 4. Psych, it's 5. It triggers. Cool, you gain another 5. It's nice. Whatever, I'll talk about more things later. Daxos. It's more Soul Wardens. He gains you life. He gains you a lot of life. He gets a fat ass while he's doing it. Cool. 2 Angelic Ascensions and 1 Faith Fetters. I thought the deck needed removal. I know most decks like this, I think, run Conclave Tribunal. I wanted to try out Angelic Ascension, because technically you can also exile your own shit in order to get an angel, which like works on the theme of the deck. Faith Fetters also works with the theme of the deck and gains you life, and you can hit Planeswalkers with it. I don't know, but I thought it needed removal, okay? 3 Angel Vitality. She makes it so you gain more life than you otherwise would, and very quickly becomes a 3-mana 4/4. Seems fine. Linden, Steadfast Queen. She gains you a lot of life. Period. She gains you a lot of life, alright? You know, turn 1 this, turn 2 fucking this, turn 3 this, bada bing, bada boom, your Pride Mate's fucking huge, and you're at 1,000 life. Resplendent Angel. Fun fact, is a 3/3 flying angel. When you gain a lot of life in a turn, you get to make an angel with Vigilance. And then if you have too much mana, just shove it into her. And that sounded bad. Shut up. Look, I'm stressed out. This deck was hard to build, and it should not have been. Heliod. This is the wrong Heliod. Let's go to edit. I wonder how many people saw that before I did. Heliod. Sun crowned. Boop boop. Save. I'm stressed out. Heliod Sun crowned. When you gain life, you make things bigger. You can give things lifelink. Shut up. 3 of Johnny Strength of the Pride. He makes Pride Mates, and you gain an F load of life, and you can exile all your opponent's nonsense. It's great. 2 Lyra Downbringers. We have angels in the deck. We make angels. Okay? Lyra cares about angels. These are the other cards that I couldn't fit in, but I wanted to. Elcid. It gains your life, and it can give your things protection. Seems decent. Healer's Hawk. It has evasion, so that it's easier to attack when you have a Johnny's Pride Mate out and make your Pride Mate bigger. Luna Vanguard. It just sits there and gains your life. But I feel like I couldn't fit any of those in. Charming Prince. It gains life, but like bouncing things doesn't actually matter all that much, neither does Scry, so that's why I got rid of it. Cub Warden. Too cute. Doesn't really matter. Then Mangara. Mangara's cool because it's a way to draw cards in a deck like this, and it has lifelink and stuff. But at the same time, like, what am I taking out for it? Right. Also, I'm running 22 lands. It says I should run 24 lands. I don't know if that's the case. I also don't care. This is the deck. And last, for the decks, I have one more thing to talk about, but certainly not least. Is this the correct way to build this deck? No. Could you win with this deck? Yes. Delicious. Okay. This is my meme deck. It's a blue-white control. I guess technically I shouldn't have Time Wipe. I should probably have Cellular Wreckage, but at the same time, fuck it, I don't care. 2 Revitalize as the only 2-drop. Why? I don't know. Or 4 Revitalize, I should say, as the only 2-drop. You just gain life and you draw a card. You just try not to die, and you get further in your deck. Cool. Teferi Time Raveler. 4 of. You bounce things, and you make it so your opponent can't play the game. In fact, we're going to skip some things, because none of this matters. Teferi, Master of Time. Essentially, you draw a card, and then you bounce a thing. Or you phase a thing, because your opponent's not allowed to play the game. Then you go over to 5-minute Teferi. 3 of these. Essentially, you either tuck a thing, or you draw a card and hold up counterspell magic. The point of this deck is to do turn 2, Revitalize, into turn 3 Teferi, turn 4 Teferi, turn 5 Teferi, and your opponent has conceded. But if you don't do that, there are still things that you can do. Turn 3, for example, you can hold up Absorb, where you counter a thing, and you gain 3 life, giving you even more time to find your Teferis. Turn 4, wow, we already have Teferi Master, but what if we don't cast anything? Well, then we can hold up both Reign of Revelation and Rewind. Revelation, by the way, allows you to draw 3 cards and to discard a single card. Could you be playing Chemist's Insight? Yes. Do I care? No, I wanted to play the new card. I like the art. It looks cool. I know technically it's not new. Modern Horizons, all that nonsense. Still. Rewind. You get to counter a spell, and then untap some lands, baby! Then play Reign of Revelation. Oh, yeah. Or you get to counter a spell. Let's say you have Teferi out, you have plus Teferi, for some reason your opponent's stupid, and they decide to cast a spell before they enter combat, you counter that spell, and then you can shatter the sky, because you're a bad person. I'm too excited for the time of day it is right now. Anyway, speaking of Shatter the Sky, we have Shatter the Sky. We have 2 of these and 1 Time Wipe. Should we be playing them differently? Probably. I don't know how to make blue-white control, but I know for a fact that I'm going to modify this deck, and I'm going to play it, and it is going to be very much hated and loved at the same time on my channel. Elspeth Conquers Death. It's a very strong card. You get to just remove something, force your opponent to have things cost way too damn much, and then you get to return a thing from your graveyard to the battlefield, which is almost certainly going to be one of your many Teferis. Moving on. Time Wipe. You blow stuff up. We're not running creatures. Creatures are for losers. Who needs a Sphinx when you can just play another Teferi? Oath of Teferi. This is a meme. You don't need to play this. In fact, it would probably be better to play ops or other things. But why am I playing it? Because it's funny. You get to play it, you bounce a permanent you control. You have to do it, but you can target a land. You don't have to target a planeswalker, but guess what? If you want, you can reset a planeswalker. Let's say your Teferi, Master of Time, is at like 1, but you really need to phase out one of your opponent's creatures. So what do? You go ahead and play this, bounce this, it comes back, and since you can activate Teferi, Master of Time at instant speed, you use the phasing ability on your opponent's turn. You do lose the Teferi in that situation. Except no, you fucking don't, because Oath of Teferi, all it says is you may activate them twice each turn rather than 1. So if this is out, you actually get to plus and then minus. So you can plus Teferi 2 times in a row on your turn, and then minus it. And plus it. It's great. It's stupid. I love it. I had to put it in. Sublime Epiphany. It's a one of. It's a new card I wanted to play it. I wanted to see if it's fun for me, not the person playing against it. So I put it in the deck. Then we have one of each Ugin. Why? I'm playing blue-white control. I don't care. Probably all 3 of these should be something the hell else, but could you imagine plus 2ing twice? Plus 1ing this twice. It is stupid, and that's why I did it. This is the mana base. Seems strong to me. Don't watch videos in the sideboard. The saddest thing is, I threw this deck together. I'm sure it's not strong, but I threw it together. I literally was like, these cards all go in. Oh, I'm at 60 cards? Wow, amazing. It's stupid. I can't wait. I did say this to the last deck. It is, but I did want to just talk about something real quick. Allegedly, we're getting Amonkhet Remaster sometime this summer. This is from April. This is from April 13th. April 13th was during like pandemic time, wasn't it? I think it was. I still fucking had this. It makes me very sad. But yes, we're supposed to be, hopefully, going to be getting Amonkhet Remaster this summer. We know that Jumpstart isn't coming until July 16th. So my suspicion, right, so this is, M21 is coming out the 24th. And that's coming out July 16th. So my suspicion is that, when is Zendikar Rising? Zendikar Rising release date. It just says Q4. When do these sets usually come out? Let's see. Looks like October? Okay, so that actually doesn't help all that much. I thought it was September. Regardless, I suspect we're going to see it mid to late August. Which is bullshit. It's too damn far. I want my damn Amonkhet cards now. But yeah, those are my 5 decks. If you have any suggestions among any of them, please let me know. I hope you've enjoyed this. And I hope you're going to join me on the 23rd? No, on the 24th. Is that shit on the 24th? Am I dumb? Something early access streamer event. I want to say it is... Okay, it is the 24th. I'm just not smart. Yes, so I hope that you all join me on the sponsor 24th stream, which will be here on YouTube. Yeah, I'd like to thank my lovely patrons for the continued support. If you'd like to join them and support the show, you'll find links to that down in the description. We do have a new patron, Brian, over there. Yeah, words are hard. My throat hurts. I need to fucking relax. I'm talking too much today. Hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, tap that like button, add subscription, share Manipool, cast a comment in the comment section down below, pass the turn in the vid to some of your friends. Of course, until next time, all will be one.